So in today's lecture, we're going to cover value proposition. What is it you're building and for who? What pains and gains are you creating for what customer segments? And more importantly, what's the minimum viable product that results from all this knowledge? So you're all familiar with the business model canvas. And hopefully by now you've actually taken a shot and try to fill out the canvas for your own idea in your own startup. But today we're going to talk about the first box, value proposition. Value proposition is just a fancy word in the business model canvas for what is it that you're building. What product or service are you building? And by the way, we're going to ask later, for who are you building it? And what exactly does it solve for those people? So let's take a look at value proposition. As I said, it's not just about your idea or product. One of the things that's hard for founders to realize, there's actually a customer at the other end. And so while you're thinking this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, the whole idea about customer development is to get you out of the building and tell me whose need or problem you're solving. It's about satisfying a customer need, not just you thinking, what a great idea. And that can't be repeated enough. So today, while we're talking about value proposition works hand in hand with who your customers are, which we'll be talking about in the next lecture. Understand that this relationship between what you're building, the value proposition, and the customer is what makes startups succeed or fail on day one right there. And we give those two boxes, those two relationships, a special name. We call that product market fit. And when you hear the phrase product market fit, just simply visualize the canvas and go, oh, that's another fancy word that says, is what I'm building needed or wanted or passionately desired by a set of customers on the other end? And if I don't have that, then the good news is about the customer development process is it allows us to keep searching without going out of business. And so what you'll find is we'll be iterating back and forth, doing things called pivots and iterations as we kind of discover what customers really want versus what we think we're building for them. So looking at the business model canvas, fill in the box where your product would go, and then fill in the box where your market would go. Well, the product goes into the box labeled value proposition. As we'll see later, the value proposition includes all the features of your product, but also what pains and gains you're solving for the customer segment. And that's where the market goes. Market includes who your customers are, what problems you're solving for them. What name do we give the relationship between the value proposition and the customer segment? The answer is product market fit, finding the right balance between the minimum viable product and the customer archetypes. So let's take a look at value proposition. Now, value proposition is not something you're building in isolation. While the value proposition is about solving a customer problem or need, it really consists of three components. The easy one for most entrepreneurs to talk about is what product features you have or what product services you're providing. But there's actually two more important components to value proposition. What gain are you creating for customers, and what pain are you solving for them? Alexander Osterwalder, when he drew the business model canvas, really emphasized this. It's not just about your product. And especially if you come from a technical background, it's really easy to see, oh, look at all these features. And if you find yourself doing that, you need to complete the sentence and say, yes, but here's what we make people be able to do better, and here are the problems we solve for them. So the real goal of you figuring out the value proposition is understanding what we call the minimal viable product. You're trying to figure out, now that I kind of understand my product and service and that what I'm gaining for customers and what pain I'm solving, what's the smallest possible feature set I could be shipping on day one that solves these pains and creates gains for them? And this really is an interactive process because there's no way, no possible way, sitting in your office you could figure this out. And the default for great engineers and great entrepreneurs is, oh, I understand customers' problems and needs, so, don't worry about it. We'll just spec the entire product on day one. Your real goal here is to figure out what's the smallest thing
you could build and develop that actually get you users or sales or whatever and get out to market as quickly as possible. And so the goal of you getting out of the building for value proposition is understanding gains and pains so you can figure out what's the MVP or minimum viable product.